Hi everyone, it's Casey, and today we're going to talk about speed. Speed is a very important aspect of training and can have a great impact on your sports performance. So first we're going to start out talking about the importance of speed training in your workouts. Then we're going to break down the 3 phases of sprinting. We're going to finish off with some great drills that you can incorporate into your training plan to help increase your speed. Speed can have a great impact on sports performance. So how fast an athlete can be in a game situation often separates good athletes from great athletes. Speed is very important. It depends on quickness, first step acceleration, and reaction time. So speed is influenced by mechanics, strength, and range of motion. Speed is an acceleration, so the equation for acceleration is force divided by mass. To increase our acceleration, we have to increase our force faster than we increase our mass. So that's going to be done by increasing the ground reaction forces. We want to decrease the time that the foot is spent in contact with the ground and increase the force that the foot can produce against the ground, and that's what's going to increase our speed. So next we're going to talk about the phases of sprinting, and then we'll talk about how we can train our speed for sports performance. Sprinting can be very complicated, and it can be broken up into many different phases. For our purposes today, we're going to simplify it a little bit, and we're only going to break it up into 3 phases. So phase 1 is going to be initial acceleration, phase 2 will be transition, and phase 3 will be maximal velocity. The first phase of sprinting is going to be the first step or the initial acceleration. So this first phase is different for different sports. In track, this first step is usually coming out of the blocks. So that's going to depend on the different positions and angles of the ankle, knee, and hip joints as the athlete is coming out of the blocks, and that's what your initial acceleration is going to depend on, as well as reaction time. For gymnastics, in events such as the vault, a gymnast usually starts their initial acceleration and first step out of a power hurdle. In other sports, like football, the first step and initial acceleration is coming out of a different stance, such as the 3-point stance for linemen. So all sports may have different ways to produce this first step and initial acceleration, but they're all focused on reaction time and quickness. The second phase of sprinting is the transition phase or the acceleration. So this is the acceleration from the first step to max velocity. The main focus in this second phase is moving the center of mass forward. For example, as a sprinter comes out of their blocks, they keep their head down and lean their body forward. They don't stand up right away. This is because they're trying to push their center of mass forward and not upward. That's a very important part in increasing the acceleration and speed in this phase. The third phase of sprinting is max velocity. The max velocity that an athlete can achieve often depends on the genetics of the athlete. However, max velocity can be trained and improved in anybody, so we're wanting to look at the positioning of the hip, knee, and ankle joint. By improving the mechanics and the range of motion, we can increase those ground reaction forces and increase the max velocity that an athlete can achieve. Now that we've talked a little bit about what speed is and the 3 phases of sprinting, we're going to talk about how we can train speed and increase an athlete's speed. Research studies have shown that it's ground reaction forces that have the largest impact on improvements in speed and not necessarily faster leg movements. Those greater ground reaction forces can lead to covering more distance faster or in fewer steps. A common coaching cue when training speed is quick feet or fast feet. However, it may be more important for a coach or trainer to focus on quick or fast hip movement, as most movement in the leg starts at the hip joint. 2 things that you want to focus on when training speed for sports performance are eccentric exercises and hamstrings. So increasing the number of eccentric exercises that your athlete is performing and increasing exercises that strengthen hamstrings, such as the deadlift, are both going to help decrease the chances of injury in your athlete. Research has also shown that while there's a variety of ways to train speed, that the best way to increase your speed is by sprinting. So you do want to make sure that when your athlete is sprinting, if you're trying to build speed, that they're running at least 90% effort. So those high intensity sprint efforts are what's going to build your speed. If the athlete's running at less than 90%, then they're working in other areas and not necessarily building up their speed. A good drill for your athletes to help increase their speed is running build-ups. So in a build-up, the athlete runs for about 60 yards, during which they gradually build up their speed. So they may run from 40 to 50 yards at about 90% effort before increasing to top speed for the last 10 yards. Here they want to make sure that they're really focused on good form and proper mechanics. The last exercise I want to talk about that is great for increasing speed and sports performance are plyos. So plyometric drills are going to help increase those ground reaction forces that we talked about before. By increasing those ground reaction forces and decreasing the time that the foot is spent in contact with the ground, you are increasing speed in your athletes. Now, all of these drills are great ways to increase an athlete's speed and help with their sprinting efforts, but you do want to make sure that for all of your athletes, you're training for specificity. So make sure that whatever you're doing is applicable to the sport that they're performing. Today we've covered a brief overview of sprinting and sports performance and how we can develop speed in our athletes. I do hope that you've learned some useful tips and some good information. I recommend that you take a look at some of the research articles that I've cited in this video if you want to get a more detailed view of some of the things that we've talked about. Thanks for watching.